Welcome to this section. In this section, we are going to talking about the control flow in C++. This is an introductory section to the control flow in C++. Let's just start with control flow. What is control flow? A simple C++ statement is each of the individual instruction of a program, like the variable, declarations, and expressions seen in previous section. For that purpose, C++ provide flow control statements that serve to specify what has to be done by our program, when and under which premises. What is control flow statement? A control statement in a C++ which redirect the flow of program in order to execute additional code. Each of them relies on a logical condition that evaluates to a Boolean value in order to return one piece of code or another. What are the control statements? A control statement is a statement that determines whether other statements will be executed, and if a statement decide whether to execute another statement. Means here we just use if statement. So if statement means when your one condition is false, so it will go to the another condition and it will execute the another conditions or decide which of two statements to execute. For loops are typically used to execute the controlled statements a given number of time. Means when you are just needing one statement many times, so we just use control statements in our code. So these are the statements in the C++. This is the beginning section of this lecture, and in next lecture we are going to start our statements in C++ like if statement, if else statements, else if statement, break, and the continue statements, for loop, while loop, do while loop, and etc. Thanks for watching this introductory section with control statement. If you find any of the problem regarding to this lecture or regarding to any of the lecture, please let me know. Thanks for watching. Welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to talking about the if statement in C++. The ability to control the flow of your program, letting it make decision on what code to execute, is valuable to the programmer. The if statements allow you to control if a program enter a section of code are not based on whether a given condition is true or false. So we just using the if statements. So this lecture will help you to learn about the if statement in C++. Let's just see the basic syntax of the if statements, that how if statements work. You just simply use a keyword named if, then test expressions, okay, or any of the expressions here, and then here you just write a statement. So here you just execute this statement. So the if statements evaluate the test expression inside parentheses. You just see here it will test the expressions inside the parentheses. Let's just see how the result we just test is greater than 5. So it will test this expressions inside the parentheses. If test expressions is evaluated true, means if test is greater than 5, means this is true. So the statement inside the body of if is execute. If expression is evaluated to false, the statement inside the body of if statement is skipped and will go to the next statement. Let's just see the example of this if statement in C++. I just simply write hash include and input out to string, then using namespace and std. Here I just print the main function, and after this main function I just create a variable name which is number. Then here I just write cout, which is enter an integer or enter a number. Okay, now just close this code here, and then I just take the user input with the help of cin. Now number, I just take a user input as a number here. Now this is the time to add if statement. So it will now I'm just using if statement. So if is a keyword here, remember that, and then number which is greater than 0. Okay, so it will check if the number is positive or not. So here I just write cout, and then cout here is I just write here you enter a positive integer. Okay, and then I just print the number with that output statement, and then here I just write end line for the single line break here. So this is our if statements in C++. Like I just check statements mean expressions here, like if and the number which is greater than 0. Then it will print that result. If this statement is not true, so it will go to the another statement which is cout, and then here I just write this statement is always executed. Means if this statement is not true, so that statement will be executed right here. Okay, now here I just write return 0. So I just return this all statement. Now I just run this code right now. So here it's need a user input as the integer, enter an integer. So I just enter 6 right here. So you can see here it asking me you enter a positive integer which is 6, and this statement is always executed. You can see here this statement is always executed because there is no if or else statement with that. So this is simply the output. Okay, so I just remove this one and then execute right here. So first of all I just run this code right now, and then run here, and then add. So I just add minus value here, means the negative value here. So negative minus 6. So you can see here it will not give me the result right here. So you can see right now minus 6. So you can see here this statement is always executed, but that will not give me the result as the negative integer, because you can see here, because I just simply write the if statements, it's always work with the positive integer, not the negative integer. So this is the simple program with the if statements. If you find any of the problem regarding to this lecture, please let me know, and you can ask your question at Udemy question and answer section. Thanks for watching this lecture. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to talking about the if-else statement in C++. An if-else statement is a conditional statement that run a different set of statements depending on whether an expression is true or false. It also works like if statement what we studied in last lecture. So the if statement execute the code inside the body of if statement. If the test expression is true, and skip the code inside the body of else. If the test expression is false, it executes the code inside the body of the else statements and skip the code inside the body of if statement. Let's just see the syntax of this if and else statement, and then I just write else statement, and then here I just write the statement of this else statement. So this is the expression here. So now you can see here, if this statement is true, so it will execute the statement of that if statement. If this statement is false, like in our last lecture, means we have only the one statement like positive, okay, which was take only the positive integer. So here you just simply write this is a positive integer, And if this statement is true, minus like you can write add -6 with your this statement, so it will go to the else statement and it will print the result like this is the negative integer. So this is a simple concept of if and else statement in C++. Now we just see the coding example of that, and here I just copy this old code, and you can see here this is the keyword of if statement, and if number which is greater than or equal to 0 right here, so it will print you enter a positive integer right here. Okay, if this statement is false, so we just simply go to the else statement. So else is a keyword here. Okay, so cout, and the cout here is you just write you enter a negative, it's a negative integer. Okay, and then here is write number, which is the end line right here. Okay, and this is the less than sign. So our this if statement is true, so it will execute this statement, or if this statement is false, so it will go to the you enter a negative integer right here. Okay, and then I just simply print cout, and cout here I just write this statement is always executed, as close this code right here. So return, which is 0 right here. Okay, and close this code here. Now I just run this code, and statement, you can see here it's need an integer, so I just first add the positive integer, so you entered a positive integer, and this statement is always executed. Now I just check this statement with a negative integer, so you can see here you enter a negative integer, means you can see here at the first of let's just see this code first. So you can see here I just entered a negative integer, so it will skip this statement and it will go to the else statement here, because this statement is false, and it will go to the true statement, so it will execute the value as a negative integer. If I add positive integer right here, so you can see here you enter a positive integer, and you can see here our this statement is execute, so it skipped this else statement right here. So this is the if and else statement in our C++ course. If you find any of the problem regarding to this if else statements, please let me know. Thanks for watching this lecture. Welcome back to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to talking about if else and else if statement. So let's just see that how this if else statements work. So the if else statement executes two different codes depending upon whether the test expression is true or false. Sometime choose has to be made of more than two possibilities. The nested if else statements allows you to check for multiple test expressions and execute the numbers of different codes for more than two conditions. Let's just see the example of the nested if else statement. So first I just check the syntax of that if statement and then the expressions right here. Then we have the more than one expressions, so we just simply use else if. So else if is the keyword here, and then the expression number 1 right here, expression number 2 right here, and then else if expression number 3, and then we just go to the else statement. So this is our first expression, second, third, and the fourth expression. If this statement is true, so it will execute these block of code. If this is false, so it will go to the else if, then else if, and then else. So it will check the statement like sequence wise, first, second, third. If it's find the true statement, so it will execute any of the true statement from this code. Now just see the example of that. So here I just copy this if statement, and here after this if statement I just go to the else, if, and here I just provide the expression like number which is less than 0. Okay, and then here I write cout, and the cout right here is, sorry, and here I write you enter a negative integer, and then I just write number and then end line. Okay, so this is my if else statement here, and then I just go to the else statement, and then I just print cout, and then here I write you enter 0. Okay, and sorry, and then here I write end line. Now I just go to cout, and here I write this is always executed statement, and then return 0. Now just check the output for this code. So we have an error of missing the parenthesis right here, and you can see here it's need an integer, so I just first add integer 9. So you can see here you enter a positive integer, means there is no minus sign involved with this integer, and then I just write -6. So you can see here you enter a negative integer right here because this is less than 0. Now I just go to the else statement. So I just write 0, so you enter the positive integer, and here I just write this one. Okay, and execute. So I just first add the positive integer, so you can see here it execute this block of code, means if this statement find the result in this block of code, so it will execute this block of code. Then we just see 6, so you can see here, so it is -6, so it will find the result here is if else statement, in the if else statement, so it will execute this block of code. So this is a simple concept of if else if statement in C++. If you find any of the problem regarding to this lecture or regarding to this nested if else statement or our this if statements, because we are just using these if else statements in our next lectures, so this is very important to make your concept right here. So if you find any of the problem regarding to these lectures, so please let me know. Thanks for watching this lecture.
Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to be learn about the statements and the flow control in C++, or you can say that the decision making in C++. A simple C++ statement is each of the individual instruction of a program. Like the variable, declaration, and expression seen in the last lectures, they always end with a semicolon and are executed in the same order in which they appear in a program. But programs are not limited to a linear sequence of the statement. During its process, a program may repeat segments of a code or take decision and prefix. For that purpose, C++ provides flow control statements that serve to specify what has to be done by our program when and other means and unders with circumstances. Decision making in C++ is about deciding the order of the execution of statement based on certain conditions or repeat a group of statement until the certain specified condition is not met. C++ handles decision making by supporting the following statement like if statement, switch statement, condition operator statement, and go to statement. But in this lecture we are going to learn about if statement, if else statement, and nested if statement. Now we just see the example of the if statement. So what is if statement? If, and then you can write expressions here. Then this statement inside this expressions. So this is the if statement. Means if A is equal to B, so C out, like C out A is equal to B. Okay, so this is called if statement. Now we just see the example of this if statement. So if include, hash include IO stream, and then integer main using namespace std, and here I just write integer x and y. So x which is equal to 15 and y which is equal to 10. Now I just use if conditions here. So if x is greater than y, so C out x is greater than y. So this is simple if statement in C++. So this is if statement. Now, and it is hash include. Okay, and IO stream, and now I just execute this code. So we have an error, yes, this one, because I just not write this library in these expressions, and here execute this code, and yes. Now you can see the output of the if x is greater than y. So you can see x is greater than y as an output because x value is 15 and y is 10, so x is greater than y. Now we just go through if else statement. So the if else statement is like here I just write if, and here is boolean expressions, and here you just write a statement and go to the else statement here. Okay, and then this statement here means our this statement is true, so it will go to the program termination. Otherwise means it's, if this condition is false, so it will go to the else condition and execute this else condition here. Now I just create the program for else statement, hash include, and iostream using namespace integer main, and then I just write a local variable here, integer a which is equal to 20 and integer b which is equal to for that purpose I just write integer a which is 200, and then I just write if condition. So if a is less than 20, so C out which is a is less than 20. Okay, so first of all we just check the boolean expressions here. Then we just print the true conditions here, and now we just go to the, and here I just write end line, and now we just go to the else condition. So else is cout, and then I just write here, which is a is not less than 200. Okay, so now, sorry, 20, it's not 200, and this is end line. Okay, so this is our else statement. Now we just go to the cout. So cout, and the value is value of a is, so I just print the value of a, so a here, and then end line. Okay, return 0. Now I just execute this program. So you can see a is not less than 20, then the value of a is 200. So this is a simple example of if else statement. Now we just see the example of if else if statement. An if statement can be followed by an optional else if else statement, which is very useful to test the various conditions using the single if else if statement. When using if else if and else statements, there are few points you can keep in your mind. And if can have the 0 or 1 else, and it must come after any else, means many else if conditions. And if can have 0 to many else if, and they must come before the else. Once an else if succeeds, none of the remaining else if or else will be tested, means or executed. See the new, and here I just write hash include istream using namespace std integer main, and in integer main I just write int a, which is equal to 300. Then I just check the boolean expression, so the if a, which is equal to 10, and cout, which is the value of a is 10, and it is end line. Okay, now I just go to the else if condition. A, which is equal to 20, and then cout, which is value of a is 20 here, and end line, sorry, here it's a end line. And then I just go to one another else if condition. So here I just write a is equal to 30, and here I just write, sorry, a which is equal to 30, and here I just write cout, and here is write value of a is not matching here. Okay, and then I just write end line. Now we just go to the else statement, and here I just write else, and the else is cout, and the value of a is not match. And here I just did a little mistake, which is a value of a is 30, and then it's end line. Okay, now we just go to the cout. Here is write exact value of exact value of a is, and here I just write a and then end line. Okay, now if else if. So what we do in this program, first of all, I just define a variable which is a, and the value of variable is 300. Then I just check the boolean condition, which is a is equal to 10, and if a is equal to 10, so print value of a is 10. Else a which is equal to 20, and if a is equal to 20, so print the value of a is 20. Then same like else if, and then we just go to the else condition. If none of these condition is true, so this condition will be printed, and this is the value of a. Now I just run this code, and here it's end line, and yes, and again I just execute this program, and you can see the value of a is not matched because we have 10, 20, 30, so that's why it's not matched, and the exact value is 300. So this is a simple example of if else if. Now we just see the example of nested if statement. So nested if statement is always legal to nested if else statement, which means you can use one if or else if statement inside another if or else if statement. Let's see in the example. Hash include iostream, and this is iostream. Okay, using namespace std, and then I just write int main, integer a which is equal to 100, integer b which is equal to 150. Now I just check the condition. So if a which is equal to 100, so let's write nested if. So if b which is equal to 150, and here I just write cout and print value of a is 100 and b is 150. Okay, and end line. Now I just write cout value of a is, and here I just write a and end line. Then I just cout and the value of b is, and b and end line. Okay, and here b. Now nested if, and here is write return 0. Okay, now let's run this output, and the value of a is 10 and the b is 150, and the value is 100 and the b is 150. So this is a simple example of nested if statement in C++. Thanks for watching this lecture. See you in next lecture.
Welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to create a program which check the leap year. So this program is totally based on if else and nested if else statement, because we are just clearing your concept with if else statement. So this program checks whether an year integer entered by the user is a leap year or not. So this is a simple program for the leap year. So let's just see the coding example of that leap year. So here I just simply add sorry, and here I just write hash include, and then input output stream. Then here I write using namespace std and the main function. Okay, now I just take an integer which is the name of year, because we are just making the program of leap year, so that's why I just take a variable right here of year. So you just take any of the variable with your integer, because this is very understandable that year, so that's why I just take year with this integer. So cout, and here is write enter a year, sorry, enter a year, and then I just close this code right here, and I just take the user input. So pass year in the user input, which is cin. Now here I just use if statement. So if year is the percent of 4, which is equal to 0, so all years which are perfectly divisible by 4 are leap years, except for country years, sorry, century years. So century years end with 00 sign, which is the leap year, only it is perfectly divisible by 400. For example, we have the year 2012, 2004, 1969 and 68 etc. are the leap year, but 1971, 2006 etc. are not leap year. Similarly, 1200, 1600, 2000 and 24,000 are the leap years, but 1700, 1800, 1900 etc. are the not leap year. So this is a simple concept of that one. That's why I just divide years divided by 4. So this is a divisible by 4, so which is equal to 0. And then here inside another if statement. So this is called nested if else statement. So nested if statements. Okay. So this is nested if statement. So if statement inside another if statement. Okay. And then percent which is equal to 100, which is equal to 0. So this is a century years. Okay. And then one another if. So this is if inside another if and then another if. So this is called nested if. So remember that. So year which is a percent sign of 400, which is equal to 0. And here I just write cout, which is the resultant value of year. And sorry, this will print the real year. And then here I just write year is a leap year. Okay. I just close code. I just close this code right here, because this is a leap year, because this is divisible by 400, and it will go to the else statement. So here I just write cout, and the cout right here is year, and the year here is I just write year is not a leap year. Okay. Then I just go to the another else statement. So else here is I just write cout and year which is a leap year. Okay, and I just close this code here. Then I just go to the another else statement and cout which is year, and then which is not a leap year. Okay, and then I just close this code here. So return zero. So here I just remove this and I just add this here. and here. Okay, now I just run this code right now. So you can see here it's executing, and it's need a year. So I just write 2018. So you can see 2018 is not a leap year. You can see here. Now I just add 2004. So 2004 is a leap year because it is divided by 4. And in this program, we are just using integer, which is year, then see out the result, which is enter a year. Then take the user input right here, then if statement for checking the leap year or not. So I just divide this by 4, and then if year, which is the percentage sign, means divisible by 100, so which is equal to 0, and then if year, which is a percentage sign of 400, which is equal to 0, so it will print this is the leap year because this is divisible by 100. If this is not divisible by 400, so it will print this is not a leap year. Then it will go to the else statement and then else statement again. So this is the not leap year. So this is a simple program to ask the user to enter the year, and this program will check whether the year is entered by the user is leap year or not a leap year. So this is a simple program. You can maybe understand the if and else statement and if nested if else statement clearly in this example. So if you find any of the problem regarding to this lecture, please let me know. Thanks for watching this lecture. Welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to talking about the switch statement or switch case in C++. This lecture will help you to learn or to create a switch case statement in C++ programming. So the ladder if else if statements allow you to execute a block of code amount many alternative. If you are checking on the value of a single variable in ladder if else if statement, it is better to use switch statement. Means you are checking the value of a single variable in the ladder, so it's better to use switch statement instead of if else if statement. So the switch statement is often faster than if else if statement, but remember that not always. Let's just see, we have code block. This is our software. So this is the switch statement. Okay, and what is a switch case? So we are just using file, edit, view, search, project, build, debug, and other menus. So these are our cases right here. So this is the simple example of the switch case here. So the syntax of the switch case here is you just simply use a keyword with switch. Then switch, you just print the expressions right here. Then in the switch statement, you just create cases. So case number 1, and then it close with colon. And then when you are just closing this case, so you just use a keyword which is the name of break. And simply you just write case number 2 and then break. So this is a simple syntax to write the switch statement. When a case constant is found that match the switch expression, control of program pass to the block of code associated with that case. So in that pseudocode, suppose the value of n is equal to that case number 2. The compiler will execute the block of code associated with the case statement until the end of the switch block or until the break statement is enclosed. So it will check all the statement and then it will print the case number 2 right here. So let's just see the example of this switch case. And here I just write hash include and input out stream. Then here I just write using namespace and std. then integer main right here. Okay, now I just take the character, and the character value here is 0, or sorry, it's a character, so character is O here. Then I just write a float data type, which is the number 1 and then number 2. Then I just write cout, and here I just write enter an operator. So this character O is for operator. So operator here are plus, minus, multiply and divide. Okay, now I just close this code right here. Now cn, which is equal to O. So I just take this operator, this character as the input. Now after that I just write cout, which is enter two operands. Okay, let's close this code right here. So operands means add two values right here. Okay, then cn and the number 1, then number 2. Then I just write switch case. So switch statement of this character 0. So 0, and then here I just start using the case number 1 right here, which is plus, and you just simply use a single quotation mark with your case and close with the colon here. No brackets involved with that case. So cout, which is number 1, and then I just write here plus sign, and then number 2, and then here I just write is equal to, and then number 1 plus number 2. Okay, so this is a result of number 1 and the number 2, what we just add the operator here. So break statement right here. Now I just copy this case and the case number 2 for subtraction, division and multiplication. So this is for subtraction right here, subtraction, multiplication, and here it's a multiplication. This is for division and this is for division. So if any of these operators are not matched in the switch case, so a keyword is using, which is the default. It's a default. Okay, so default is a keyword when we are just using, like we have no resultant found value in the switch case, so we just simply use default, and here I just write cout and then error, no operator match in this program. Okay, and just close this code right here and simply close with break statement. Okay, and then return 0. Now I just run this code, and here hash include rstream. So hash include, it's hash include and put output stream. Now just check the code right here, and there's an error, which is this error is not shown to me, so no such an input output stream. So there's an error of this extension file right here. So here I just write switch, and then this is division sign here. Okay, so I just already create another new file with a switch case. So you can see here this is c++.c, so it will go to the mix up C and C++ files. So I just create a new file and copy this code here. Now I just run this code right now and check the output. So enter 2 operand, which is 2.3. So I just take the float value right here and then 4.6. So you can see here no error, no operator match in this program because I'm just not adding any of the operator right here. Okay, so run it again and then here is write 2.3 plus 2.3. So you can see here error 2 operand. You can see it enter second number operand, and then when I just enter the second number operand, so it will show me the error here because I'm just adding 2 operand right here, which is 2.2 and 2.3. Let's just check another output. Okay, so 2.3, and so I just add minus 2.3, sorry, 2.3, and then add the operand here. Okay, so here I just write 2.4. So you can see here 2.3 minus 2.4, which is equal to minus 0.1. So this minus operator entered by the user is to store in the character. Like when I just add this minus operator, so it will store in the character variable, and 2 operands means 2.3 and then 2.4 are stored in the variables, which is number 1 and the number 2 respectively. So then control of the program jumps to cout number 1 and the number 2 minus, you can see here control of the flow program goes to the case number minus. Okay, so it will go jump to this case. So finally it will break this statement, and with the switch statement you can see here it will break this statement, and if the break statement is not used, all the cases after this correct cases are executed. You can see here I just add this operand right here. So you can see here, sorry, I just add 2 operand together, so plus and 2 operand 2.3 and then 4, sorry, here plus 2.3 and then 5.6. You can see here 2.3 plus 5.6 is 7.9. So you just simply get the result with these operands. So simply add the operator right here and then 2 operand. Okay, so if you find any of the problem regarding this switch case, so please let me know. Thanks for watching this lecture.
Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to be talking about switch statement in C++. A switch statements allow a variables to be tested for equality against a list of the value, and each value is called case, and the variables being switched on the checked for each case. The syntax of this switch statement is use the switch as a keyword, and then you can write the expressions here. Then case and the expressions of the case close with colon, statement, and then break. Okay, and at the last you have any number of case statements, you use default, so it's default. Okay, and then use the statement here. So default is optional statements in this case. So the expressions used in a switch statement must have an integral or enumeration type, or be of a class type in which the class has a single conversion function to an literal or enumeration type. You can have any numbers of case statements within a switch. Each case is followed by the value of the compared to and a column. The expressions for a case must be the same data type as the variable in the switch, and it must be a constant or a literal. When the variable being switched on the equal to a case, the statement following that case will execute until a break statement is react. When a break statement is react, the switch terminates and the flow of a control jumps to the next line following the switch statement. Not every case needs to contain a break. If no breaks appear, the follow of control will fall through to subsequent cases until a break is reached. A switch statement can have an optional default case. I just told you the default case, which must appear at the end of the switch. The default case can be used for performing a task when none of the cases is true. No break is needed in this default case. Now we just see the simple example of this switch statement. As I already create the header files and namespace, now I just write the character as a grade which is equal to D. So our grade which is equal to D. Then switch, and this is switch as a keyword, and grade is our variable name. Then case A. So this is example to write the case, and then cout excellent. Okay, and here is write end line. So this is our first case. So I just break this statement here. Now I just go to the another case. So case B, and I just do not write any of the case in the B, and then I just write case C, which is cout, and I just write well done, or I just write in the case B, which is cout and good. Okay, and break. And here I just close this code, and here I just write the statement is break here. Now case which is D, and here I just write cout, and the cout is you pass. Okay, and which is end line. And here we just also write end line and the end line and break. Okay, now I just go to the case which is F. So this is our F case, and here is write cout, which is fail. Okay, and break. Now I just go to the default statement. So default and cout, which is not graded. Okay, and then I just write cout your, and here is write your grade is, and then grade and the end line. Now return 0. Okay, and yes, now just check the output. and you can see the output means not graded. Your grade is D. You can see here your grade is D here because I just write the grade as a D. So this is a capital D, so I just write here a small d. So you can see I am just pass here. You can see your grade is D. You pass. So first of all, I just take a character and give it the value which is grade is equal to D. Then use a keyword which is switch and grade and pass the expressions as a grade here. Then create the case, see out, and then break that case. So this is a simple example of a switch statement in C++. Thanks for watching this lecture. See you in next lecture. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to be learn about the continue statement in C++. Continue statement is used inside the loops. Whenever a continue statement is encountered inside a loop, control directly jumps to the beginning of the loop for next iteration, skipping the execution of the statements inside the loop's body of the current iteration. The syntax of the continue statement is simple. You just write continue. Now we just see the example of this continue statement, and here I just write a for loop. So for int number which is equal to 0, then I just write num which is less than or equal to 6, then num plus plus. Here I just write if num which is equal to 3, and I just write continue, and here I just write cout which is less than num, and then the empty string. Okay, now afterwards I just write here return, and the return is 0. So this means that when the value of num is equal to 3, this continue statement would be encountered, which would make the control to jump to the beginning of the loop for next iteration and skipping the current iterations here. You can see I just first of all I just define the for loop. I just cannot define as an integer here because I just write integer in the for loop, and then I just write if condition. So if 3 is equal to num is equal to 3. So here I just define the continue statement, and then I just print cout and return 0. Now just check the output for this code. So the program is compiling here, and yes, this is the output. You can see this num is equal to 3, so 0 1 2. It's skip the 3 here, and 4 5 6. So this is a simple example of continue statement in C++. Thanks for watching this lecture. See you in next lecture.
Welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to talking about the break and the continue statement in C++. Break and the continue statements are two different statements in the C++. In C++ there are two statements which are break and continue, specifically to alter the normal flow of program. Sometimes it is described to skip the execution of loop for a certain test condition or terminate it immediately without checking the condition. For example, you want to loop through data of all age people except people aged 65, or you want to find the first person aged 20. In this scenario, like these continue or break statement is used. So let's just see the example of the break statement and see how this break statement works. So the break statement is used to break or terminate a loop whatever we used. Just type a break as a keyword here. So after the statement after which you want to break the loop as simple as that. Remember we had also used break statement in switch case and in the previous lecture. So let's just see the example of this break statement right here, and hash include, which is iostream, and then here I start using namespace, which is std. Okay, then integer main, so the main function right here, and then I just take integer n, then I just write for loop. So we just learn about loops in our next upcoming section. So n, which is less than or equal to 5, so just make a concept right here. So n is plus plus, operand, operator, operand. Okay, n which is equal to 1, n which is less than or equal to 5, and n which is plus plus. Use of loop with the brackets, and then cout, which is less than sign here, and then I just write static. Close this code right here, and then end line. Okay, now if statement, so if n which is equal to 2, so I just write here, so I just write here break statement. So break is simply is a keyword here, so it is return 0. So in this iterations of loop, in this example, this multiplication sign, static sign, get, print, and the condition of n means any number which is equal to 2, you can see here this logic is checked. Since the value of n is 1, therefore the conditions become false and n plus plus increase. This n increment sign increase the value of n to 2 again. So static get the print, and since this time the condition of if satisfy the break statements and the loop will terminate. Now just see the example output of that code. So you can see here 2-time print, and then it will terminate that loop. Okay, you can see here n which is equal to 2. So now just see the continue statement. So continue statement here is I just copy this one, or I just copy this all code right here. Okay, so continue statement works similar to the break statement. So break statement simply terminate the loop, and the continue statement is start the loop again. So the only difference is that break statements terminate the loop, and the loop whether continue statement passed control to the conditional test. For example, where the condition is checked. In short, it press control to the nearest conditional test in do while loop, and here or the condition of while loop in the while loop, or the condition of for a statement is skipping the rest of the statement in the loop. So this is a simple continue statement. So I just remove this for loop right here, and here too. So I just take so here n, integer n which is equal to 1, and then here I just use while. So while is a loop here, so while is a keyword also which is used for while loop, and while is 10. So this is expression of while loop. We will learn about while loop in our next section. So if statement, so if n which is equal to 5, and then n which is equal to n plus 1. Okay, so after this n plus 1, I just use continue statement. So simply write continue as a keyword right here, and then cout, which is n is equal to and less than sign, and then I just write, I just print this n here. So then end this line here, and this increment operator. Okay, now I just run this code. And you can see here this while loop is continue up to 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9. You can see here n which is less than 10. So it will break this 5 statement right here, okay, and then continue from 6 7 8 and 9. So in this example, n is equal to 5 is not printed because as the value of n becomes 5. The if conditions become true and the statements in the body of the if statement get executed. Thus n which is equal to n plus 1 increase the value of n to the 6. And continue statement pass to the control of the test condition, and then rest of the statement are not executed. So it will print the value of cout which is n is equal to, and then print n and end line which is n plus plus, so increment operator. So it will go to this statement, okay. So these two statements are not executed when n is 5. So then again the iteration start and the number gets printed from 6. So it will simply skip the 5 right here because this loop is stopped right 5 with the help of this logic, n which is equal to 5 and then n plus 1 after this continue statement. So if you find any of the problem regarding to this break and continue statements, so please let me know. So it's important to clear your concept right here. Thanks for watching this lecture. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to talking about the goto statement in C++. A goto statement provides an unconditional jump from the goto to a labeled statement in the same function. Goto statement is used for transferring the control of the program to a given label. Let's just see the example of that. Syntax of that goto. So goto is a simply keyword here and then label underscore name. This is simple syntax of the goto statement. And now just see the example of that goto statement. So here I just write hash include and then put out stream. Then here I start using namespace which is std and then go to the main function. Okay, so integer number here. So I just take one integer here and then cout which is I just write enter a number, and then after that I just write cin. So I just add the user input as a number. So here I just use if statement which is the number, and the percentage sign means it is divisible by, it is a modulus of 2 which is equal to 0, and which is goto and print. Okay, so here I just use goto as a keyword and then I just use print right here. So it will jump to the print function. Okay, now I just go to write else statement, and else statement here is cout, and then here I just write odd number. Okay, close this semicolon, and then I just use print as this goto function. So it will go to the print. So here I just write goto, so it will jump to this print function, and then here I just write cout which is even number. Okay, and then return 0. Now I just check the output. So I just add 40. So you can see here I just add the even number here. So here you can see it's checked the modulus of 2 here, and then it will jump to means go to. I just use this go to as a keyword, so it will jump to this function and it will print the even number right here. So this is a simple program of the goto statement here. Note that use of goto statement is highly discouraged because it's make difficult to trace the control flow of a program, making the program hard to understand and hard to modify. So any programs that use a goto can be rewritten so that it does not need to go to. So this is simple program with the goto statement, and if you find any of the problem regarding to this lecture, please let me know. Thanks for watching.
Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to be studied about the goto statement in C++. The goto statement is used for transferring the control of a programs to a given label. The syntax of the goto statement is like here I just write goto and then label underscore name. So this is a simple syntax of the goto, and the program structure like label 1 and then here I just write goto label 2 and then label 2. So this is a program structure. In a program we have any number of goto label like label number 1 and then label number 2. Now I just write a example of goto statement. So I just write int and num. Now I just write cout, and cout here is enter a number, and then I just take a user input which is cin and then num. Now if statement, so if num is a modulus of 2 which is equal to 0, so I just write goto and print. Then I just go to the else. So else is cout, and the cout here is odd number. Here I just write print means the label, and cout which is even number, and return 0 here. So as you can see here in this program, I just have any number of a goto and the label statement. The goto statement is followed by a label name. However, goto statement is encounter the control of the programs which is jump to the label specified in the goto statement. Now just execute this program and see the expected output. And here you can see I just enter a number which is 20, and this is the even number. So it is directly go to the number here. You can see even number. And now I just click on compile again, and here I just write 21. So this is odd number. Okay. So it is directly go to the print means odd number, and then go to the print which is even number. Thanks for watching this lecture. See you in next lecture. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to be learn about C++ loops and its type. There may be a situation when you need to execute a block of code several number of times. In general statements, we are executed sequentially. The first statement is in a function is executed first, followed by the second, and so on. Programming languages provide various control structures that allow for more complicated execution path. A a loop statement allows us to execute a statements or a group of statements the multiple number of time. We have the different types of loop. First one is while loop, second number is for loop, do while, and nested loop. In this lecture, we are going to be learn about the while loop. A while loop statement repeatedly execute a targeted statement as long as the given condition is true. For that while loop, I just write a code or a syntax, and this is the condition here, means while and condition and then a statement. So this is a simple syntax of the while loop. Now we just go through the code of the while loop. So here I just write integer a which is equal to 10. I just define a local variable, or I just declare the local variable here, and here I just use while as a keyword, and a which is less than 20. Then I just write count, and which is C out, which is the value of a, and then here I just pass the value of a, and then end line, and then a which is the increment operator here. Now return 0. So as you can see here, this statement may be a single statement or a block of a statement, means this is the statement of this code. The conditions may be any expressions. Plus is equal to, less than, or greater than, means, and it is true in any non-zero value. The loop iterates while the condition is true. Mean when the loop iterates when the condition is true. Now we just check the output, and yes, you can see here the while loop means 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and up to 19, and the value, when the value comes 20, so loops end. So this is a simple example of while loop in C++. Thanks for watching this lecture. See you in next lecture.
Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to talking about the loops in C++, but we are completely focused on the while loop. Loops are used in programming to repeat a specific block of code. In this lecture you will learn to create while loop in C++. In computer programming, loops repeats a certain block of code until some end condition is met. There are three types of loops in C++ programming, which is for loop, while loop and do while loop. Let's just talk about the while loop in C++. Let's just see how this while loop works. The while loop evaluates the test expression first, means it will evaluate the expression first, which is the test expression. If the test expression is true, code inside the body of while loop is executed. Then the test expression is evaluated again. This process goes on until the test expression is false. When the test expression is false, the while loop is terminated. Note that the important point to note when using while loop is that we need to use increment or decrement statement inside the while loop, so that the loop variable get changed on each iteration and at some point conditions return false. This way we can end the execution of while loop, otherwise the loop would execute indefinitely. So let's just see the syntax of this while loop. So syntax is so much important of the so much simple in the while loop, which is while. You just simply write the keyword which is while, and you just write test expression right here, and then the block of code. This is the simple way to use, means to write the while loop. So I just create a new file, and here I just write while loop.c++, because this is, I just create a C file right here. Okay, and now just start working with while loop. Let's just see the example of this while loop. So here in this example I am just creating the number of factorial with the help of while loop. So simply write hash include and istream. So istream here is input output streaming. Then namespace file right here. So namespace, which is std. Then I just paste the main function. So the main function here is integer number. So integer number is my first integer here. Then I just write I, which is equal to 1. This is my second integer, and at the last I just write fact for the factorial, and factorial here is 1. So I just take three variables right here, which is the number I, which is equal to 1, and factorial, which is equal to 1. So I just simply take factorial in the place of fact. Then I just write cout, which is here I just write enter a positive integer right here. Okay, so I just add the output statement which is enter a positive integer. So I just take the user input right here, and which is the number, and which is our integer here. Now it's time to create the while loop with the help of while as a keyword. So I, which is less than or equal to number. Okay, so I just open this statement, and here I just write fact, and fact which is static is equal to 1. So this is the factorial formula, means fact which is equal to factorial multiply by I. So it will simply multiply these two statements with the help of this factorial as a variable. So I plus plus or plus plus I, both are same. Now cout, which is I just write here factorial of, and then here I just write number, so factorial of this number, and which is equal to, which is equal to fact. Okay, so factorial of this number which is equal to this fact. Okay, means factorial of number and which is equal to this logic here, and it will return 0. So our code for this factorial program is complete here. So first of all, hash include iostream, the library or the header file, using namespace, main function, and integer number. So I just take 3 integer right here, then cout and output statement, then cin, which is number. Then I just create while loop with the help of while as a keyword, which is I is less than or equal to this number, which is our input statement. Okay, and then factorial, which is the multiplication of I. So factorial and factorial multiply I. This statement means that factorial and factorial multiply by I. And then I just use then increment operator here. Then cout factorial of this number is equal to our this factorial. Okay, and I will write that return 0. So run as a code right now, and there's an error. So error here, which is this quotation right here. Yes. And now I just run this code, and you can see here enter a positive integer. So I just write 2. So factorial of 2, which is equal to 1. So here I just write 25. So factorial of 25 is also 1 here, because this is factorial and factorial which is equal to I. So this is the simple program what I just write here with the help of factorial. Okay, so let's just see this program. The user is asked to enter the positive integer which is stored in the variable number. Let's suppose I just add here the number 2. Okay, or I just add the number 4 right here. So 4 factorial is 1. Okay, so initially I, which is equal to 1, it tests the expression I, which is less than number. Okay, so it's true and the factorial becomes 1. So variable I is up to date to 2. Test expression is true and factorial become 2 right here. Then variable I is updated to 3. Okay, and then test expression is true and factorial becomes 6. So same like this one. So if the variable is updated to 5, the test expression become false and while loop is terminated. You can see here. So this is while loop and the while loop is terminated right here. Now we just see one another program in the while loop which is so simple, and let's just start work with it. And here I just write while loop2.c++. So here I just copy this header files right here and close this file here, and here I just simply write the integer I which is equal to 1. So here I just write while. So while is a loop keyword here, and which is I is less than or equal to 6, and then cout, and the cout here is the value of variable is which is print I and end line, and then here I just write I plus plus. Okay, so the loop would continue to the print the value of I until the given condition is like I is less than or equal to 6, return false. So the loop will continue to the print. Okay, otherwise it will go to the return statement which is false. And let's just see the result of this while loop, and which is, you can see here, it will execute up to 6 times, means from 1 to 6, 1 2 3 4 5 and up to 6. So it will print and 6, and after this 6 the conditions become false, so it will terminate the loop. So this is a simple example of the while loop in C++. If you find any of the problem regarding this lecture and anywhere you not understand the logic or anything, please let me know. Thanks for watching. Welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to talking about the do while loop in C++. Unlike for and the while loop, which test the loop condition at the top of the loop, the do while loop check its condition at the bottom of the loop. Means a do while loop is similar to a while loop. Expect that a do while loop is generated to execute at least one at a time. Means the condition become true or false, it will give you the result, or means it is generated once at the time to the execution. So let's just see the syntax of this do while loop. So simply we just write do and then the while where we check the expression, and while where we check the expression. Okay, so this is simple syntax of the do while loop. The do while loop is variant of the while loop, which is with a one important difference: the body of the do while loop is executed once before the test expression is checked. So I just told you that. So the code inside the body of the loop is executed at least once, then only the test expression is checked. If the test expression is true, the body of the loop is executed. This process continues until the test expressions become false. Means when the test expression become false, so the loop will terminate it. Okay, now we just go to the output coding example of this do while loop here. So simply write hash include and then input out the stream filing, and then using namespace which is the std and std right here. So integer main function here, and then after this main function I just write float. So float is a data type here, so float number which is sum is equal to 0.0. Then I just print do. So do here is a keyword, so cout, and here is write enter a number, and cin which is the number, and then sum, and I just write sum plus number. Okay, then we just go to the while statement. So while loop which is the number is not equal to 0.0, and then cout which is total sum, and the total sum which is equal to sum, so it will print the sum right here. So return 0. Okay, now I just check the output. So here is the while loop, and then while number is not equal to 0.0, and here I just simply close this with semicolon, because this is the expression right here. So this is a simple syntax to write this for loop. So enter a number right here. So I just enter the number 2, number 3, 4, 6 and 5, and here you just see that I just add the value of this one. So as you can see here, it is executing when the conditions become false. So I just add 2, 3, 6, 6, 5, 5, 4, 5 and minus 9.2. So this is the input what I am giving here. So it will sum with the number, and then it will go to the while statement, which is not equal to 0.0 and the total sum, and which is print the sum right here. So 23.0. so you can see here it is taking all the numbers right here, okay, when the conditions become false. So you can see here, and you can see here again. So I just terminated by mistake. So 2.3, sorry, 230, 2.0, 6.0, and when I just write 0.0, so it will give me the sum of the total, which is 2.38, sorry, 238. So it will give us the result on the condition which is not equal to, means 0.0. so it will give us the result because the loop gets terminated on 0.0 right here. So this is a simple example of the do while loop in C++. If you find any of the problem, or you just not understand any of the thing regarding to this code or regarding to this lecture, please let me know. Thanks for watching.
Welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to be learn about do while loop in C++. Unlike for loop and while loop, which test the loop condition at the top of the loop, the do while loops check its condition at the bottom of the loop. A do while loop is similar to the while loop, except that a do while loop is generated to execute at least one at a time. Means if a condition is true or a false, the do while loop is executed once at a time. The syntax here is do, and then you just write while, and here you just write a statement and the condition here. Remember that the condition expressions appear at the top of the loop, so the statement in the loop execute once before the loop is tested. If the condition is true, the flow of controls jump back up to do, and the statements in the loop execute again, so this process repeat until the given condition is false. Now we just see the example of the do while loop, and here in the main file I just write integer, which is number is equal to 1, then do, and here just write cout, and cout which is the value of number, and here I just write number and end line. Okay, now I just write the increment operator here, and then go to the while statement. So while loop number is less than or equal to 8, the output here I just write return 0. I run this code. So we have an error, yes. And now I just run it again. So as you can see here, the value of the number is 1, 2, 3, 4 and up to 8. If this condition is false, I mean I just write 9 here. Now let's check the output. So loop is executed once at a time. You can see here it's executed once at a time. So this is the simple example of the do while loop in C++. Thanks for watching this lecture. See you in next lecture.
Welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to talking about the while loop in C++. A while loop that never stops is said to be the infinite while loop. While we give the condition in such a way so that it's never return false, then the loops become infinite and repeat itself indefinitely. So let's just see the example of this while loop in C++. So simply I just include the header file, and which is input output stream. Then using namespace, which is std, and integer main. Okay, now here I just write int I, which is equal to 1. So this is my variable here. Then it is the infinite while loop, so I just write I, which is while, which is the expression of I less than 6. While is a keyword here, and then cout, which is I just write here the value of variable I is, and then I and end line. Okay, and then I, which is the decrement operator. Let's just see that how this while loop, infinite while loop is work. So it is executing. So you can see here it is going to down, 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 and down again. You can see with the help of this increment operator. It's just, if I just write this decrement operator right here, and if I just write increment operator, so the value goes to the plus. So you can see here this value goes to the minus, and this loop execute many and many numbers of time. Okay, so if you find any of the problem regarding to this infinite numbers of while loop lecture, please let me know. This is so much simple, you can see here. So I just simply write integer I, which is equal to 1, while loop, which is I is less than 6, and cout, which is print only I right here, and I just simply add the decrement operator to execute this while loop to the many numbers of time. So thanks for watching this lecture. See you in next lecture. Welcome to this lecture, and it's time to get started with the very expensive and mostly used loop in the C++ programming or any of the programming language, which is the for loop. So as I just told you that loops are used in the programming to repeat the specific block of code. In this lecture you will learn to create a for loop in C++ programming with the help of example. So there are three types of loop, which is for, while, and do while loop. And in the while loop we have the do while loop and the infinite numbers of while loop, what I just create in my last lecture. So let's just see how this while loop for loop is working. So for, and here the syntax is simply a little bit tricky, which is here I just write initializer or initialization statement. So here you just simply write the initialization statement, then test expression. So it will test the expression here and then update statement here. So this is the simple syntax of the for loop. First of all, you just initialize the statement, then test the expression, and then update the expressions. Operand, operator, operand. Simply the concept like this one. Okay. So how this for loop works? The initialization statement is executed only once at the beginning. You can see here this statement will execute once at the beginning. Then it will go to the test expression. So then the test expression is evaluated. If the test expression is false, the loop is terminated, but if the test expression is true, the code inside the body of for loop is executed and update expression is updated. It will go to the update statement right here. Again, the test expression is evaluated and the process repeat until the test expression is false. Okay, so simply this is a simple syntax and the concept of the for loop. Let's just see the example of this for loop with the help of factorial example. So hash include and input output streaming right here, then using namespace, which is the std, and integer main function. So main function is a by default function. We have some of the user defined function also. We are talking about that user defined in our next lectures. So here I just write fact, and fact which is equal to 1. Same like the while loop. And cout, which is less than, here I just write enter a positive integer. Okay, and then cn, it will take the input as the n, means this number. Okay, then for, and here I just write I, which is equal to 1, and I, which is less than or equal to n, and I plus plus. So you can see here, first I just initialize this statement right here, which is I is equal to 1. Then it will check the expression and update a statement with the help of increment or the decrement operator. Okay, now here I just write fact as a factorial keyword, which is a multiplication of factorial, which is equal to I. Okay, so the reason behind that, factorial, which is equal to factorial multiply I, and then cout, which is factorial of, and then here I just write and then here I just write n. So number, it will print the number right here, and which is equal to and which is equal to fact. Okay, and return 0. Now just check the output. So yes, so here is an error, which is the factorial of, and which will print the n and then the factorial. Okay, now just run it again, and I just add an integer, which is 25. It's 25, and you can see here the factorial of the 25 is this one. Okay, so this is a simple program with the help of factorial. So in this program, user is asked to be enter a positive integer, which is the 25 here, and which is stored in the variable n. So it will store in the variable n here. Suppose or not suppose, you just enter 25, and here is a working of for loop. Like, first of all, it will initialize I is equal to 1. So it will initialize it I is equal to 1. Then it will check the expression, means I is less than or equal to n or not. Okay, and then the factorial becomes 1. Okay, so I is updated to 2, and test expression is 2 and becomes to 2. So these like this one, so it will goes up to 25 and check the conditions become true or false. So it will give us the result right here. So this is a simple syntax of the for loop in the C++ programming. So remember that for loop is very much important in any programming language. So if you find any of the problem regarding this for loop, please let me know. Thanks for watching this lecture.
Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to be learn about the for loop in C++. A for loop is a repetition control structure that allow you to efficiently write a loop that need to execute a specific number of times. Now we see the example, or not the example right now. First of all, I just see the syntax of this for loop. So for, and here I just initialize, then condition, which is true or 5, and then increment operator, and then statement of the code. For loop is most important loop in any programming language. Remember that. So first step, I just initiate the loop. So initiate step is execute first and only once. This step allow you to declare and initialize any loop control variable. You are not required to put a statements here, and means as long as a semicolons appear. Our next statement is the condition. So the condition is evaluated if it is true or false. The body of the loop is executed. If it is false, the body of loop does not execute and flow of control jump to the next statement after the for loop. After the body of the loop executes, the flow of the controls jump back up to the increment statement. This statement can be left back as long as semicolon appear after the colon. The condition is now evaluated again. If it is true, the loop executes and the process repeats itself. Body of the loop, then increment step, and then again condition. After the conditions become false, the for loops terminated. Now we just see the example of the for loop. So for loop, I just write here integer a which is equal to 10. So I just initialize the a here. A is less than 20, the condition a which is equal to a plus 1, increment operator. Now here I write cout value of a and then a and end line. And here I write return 0. Execute this code and you can see the for loop which is start from 10 and we just need this for loop up to 20. If I just write this for loop as a 1 or a 0 and I just want to execute this for loop up to 20, so you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and up to 19. So this increment operator add 0 with 1, so value is 1 here, 1 with 1, 2, 2 with 1, 3, 3 with 1, 4 and up to 19. So this is a simple example of the for loop in C++. Thanks for watching this lecture. See you in next lecture.
Welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to talking about the nested for loop in C++. A for loop or a nested for loop means a loop can be inside another loop, which is called for loop. So we have the nested while loop, nested do while loop and nested for loop, but in this lecture we are completely focused on the nested for loop. So the syntax of the nested for loop is like this one is for loop, and then inside another loop you just simply write the nested for loop, means loop inside another loop. It is also called while loop. It is also used in while loop, do while loop and etc. Let's just see the example of this nested for loop in C++. So I just copy this one and here I just paste it, and here first of all I just create an integer I and integer j. Integer I and integer j. Integer I is for loop number 1 and integer j for the loop number 1. So I just create two data types here. First I just write for loop, and then again I just write for loop. Okay, here I just write I which is equal to 2, I is less than 100, I which is equal to 2, and I which is less than 100, and I is plus plus. This is our first loop which is used in the for loop. And now the nested for loop, j which is equal to 2, so I just create this value as j, take this value 2, then j which is less than or equal to, so I just write here I divided by j. Okay, and then plus here and j plus plus. So now here I just define the if condition here, if not, and I is the percentage sign of j, means I is a modulus of j. So here I just write break statement. If not I is modulus of j, so here this statement is break, means if the factor found not prime. So here this is the program for the prime number. So if the factor is found as a not prime, so this condition will break here. So now I just write if j is greater than, which is I divided by j. So I just write C out I, and then here I just write is prime, sorry, it's prime and slash n for a single line break here. Okay, and then return 0. Check the output right now, and yes, so it will found the prime number in 02, sorry, I just nested for loop dot C++, and then execute it again. So you can see here it found the number of prime in the 100 figure. You can see here 0 to 100, no sorry, 2 to 100. So 2, 3, 5, 7, 11 and up to 97s are the prime numbers. So you can see here, so this is a simple logic of the prime number with the help of nested for loop. So simply the concept of the nested for loop is loop inside another loop. We just need two loop inside, means two loop at one time, like loop inside the another loop. So we just simply use the nested for loop here. Okay, if you find any of the problem regarding to the nested for loop, please let me know. Thanks for watching this lecture.
Welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to be learn about the nested loop in C++. A loop can be nested inside the another loop. Allows at least 256 level of nesting. I just told you that nested means a statement inside another statement or loop inside another loop. Example, we have the for loop. We initiate means initialize, condition and increment operator for this loop, and then loops inside another loop like this one. Then the statement and this statement here. So this is a simple syntax of the for loop, nested for loop. And here I just make example of the nested for loop like integer I and j. Then I just write I which is equal to 2, I is less than 100, and I plus plus. Then another loop which is j is equal to 2, j is less than or equal to I divided by j, and then j plus plus. Okay, now here I just write if condition. So if not I divided by j, so break this statement here. So this is for the prime. So if the factor is found, means not prime, so we just go to the if statement. So if j is greater than I divided by j, and here is write C out which is less than I, and is prime slash n. Okay, and return 0. So as you can see here, I just define the nested for loop, and which is I is equal to 2 and I is less than 100 and I plus plus. Then I just go to the for loop, and for j is equal to 2, j is less than or equal to I divided by j, and j plus plus mean increment operator. Then if statement if not I modulus of, and here it's a modulus of j, So break the statement here. Otherwise, if j is greater than I divided by j, so see out the value of I, and the value of I is prime. And I just not find the expected output of this program, and we just remove these brackets, and now just check the output. So you can see 2, 3, 5, 7 and up to 97 means the value range is 100 here, and these are the primes in this number range. So this is a simple example of the nested for loop in C++. Thanks for watching this lecture. See you in next lecture.
Welcome to this lecture, and after working with nested for loop, so it's time to create something like different. Means when we are just using the nested for loop, so this means that the loop inside another loop, and here in this lecture we are just creating the example with for loop, which is programmed to print the half pyramid using statics. So it is a shape like triangle. So let's just see. I just import the libraries here and the header files, and then I just go to the integer and main function, and here I just write rows. So integer rows here, and then cout, which is enter number of rows, means how many numbers of rows you want to print here. Cin rows. Okay, now for loop and integer I. So I just not define the I integer here, so that's why I just write I with integer with I. So I which is equal to 1, and then I which is less than or equal to rows, and I plus plus. Okay, now for loop inside another for loop is a nested for loop. So integer j which is equal to 1, and then j which is less than or equal to I. Okay, and j plus plus. Now cout, which is static right here. Okay, and then cout, which is /n, /n. Okay, and then return 0. I just print this code. So here you can see here the first it will print this expression, so enter numbers of rows. So here I just said that print 10 numbers of rows. So it will take the user input here, then check the for loop that integer I which is equal to 1 and I is less than rows, so less than rows, and then go to the for loop which is j is equal to 1 and j which is less than or equal to I, and j plus plus. So it will print the static right here with the shape of triangle, and here it will print the single line break after any statement executed. So 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, you can see here. So it will print 10 rows right here. So this is simple program of writing or to printing the triangle using static numbers and the characters. So thanks for watching this lecture. If you find any problem regarding to this lecture, please let me know. Welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to talking about the half pyramid using alphabet. So this is the second example of the nested for loop, and in this lecture what we are creating, let print half pyramid using alphabet. As you can see here on your screen, I just write include iostream using namespace std and integer main function. Inside the main function, I just define the characters right here, which is the input, and then alphabet. So I just write ALP for alphabet, which is equal to, I just write here capital A. Why I just take the characters right here? Because we are just working with the alphabets right here. So that's why I just take the input as the character. Then I just write C out and enter the upper case character you want to print in last row. Okay, so this is simply the output statement. Now I just take Cin as the user input right here. So user will input this input right here. So this is simply the variable right here. Okay, now it's time to take the for loop. So for integer I, which is equal to 1, then I just write I, which is less than or equal to input, and input which is minus capital A and plus 1. So this is simply the statement for printing the input right here. So and then I just write the operand operator and operand which is I plus plus. Now for loop again. So this means that this is the nested for loop, because one loop inside another for loop. So this is nested for loop. So integer j, which is equal to 1, and j, which is less than or equal to I, and j plus plus. C out, which is alphabet, and here I just pass the empty string right here. Then I just write alphabet is plus plus. So I just do an increment operator on it. So C out, which is end line. So it will print after, means it will leave one line after every statement or every line. So return, which is 0. So as you can see here, first of all, I just include the header files, then integer main functions. I just take two variables as the input character and alphabet as a character. Then output statement, which is enter the uppercase character you want to print in the last row, and then take the user input as the Cin, which is input. Then for loop, this is the logic right here for the for loop, which is integer I is equal to 1 and integer I is less than or equal to input minus A plus 1. So it will print the parameter like the triangle shape, or it will print the half parameter. Okay, sorry, it will print the half parameter like the shape like this one. Okay, and I, which is plus plus. So for integer j, which is equal to 1, and j, which is less than I, and j plus plus. So here in this statement, I just take that j, which is equal to 1, then j, which is less than or equal to this I, and then j plus plus. Then C out, and it will print this alphabets. And then alphabets is the increment operator right here. It means when you just print like one time A, then in that second statement it will print BB and then CCC. So it will add one alphabet with another new line, and then DD and DD like this one. Okay, so let's just see the output and build program, and then I just run this program. So here I just add A. So you can see here it's print the A right here. So now after this printing the A, I just need an alphabets for G, means 1 A to G. So it will print A, B, C, D, E, F and G. Then I will run it again and write Z as a uppercase alphabet. So you can see here it's print up to A to Z as the half parameter. So this is the simple program to print half parameter using the alphabet. If you find any of the problem regarding to this lecture or any of my lecture, please let me know. And thanks for watching. this lecture.